World of Warcraft has been out for almost a decade and a half now, and over its expansive history, a lot of spells and abilities have been added, removed and changed, sometimes for the better and sometimes, well, not so much, but there has been some really unique and interesting abilities that have been removed over time, so in this video, we're going to take a look at my top 10 weird and crazy abilities that have been removed from World of Warcraft. Number 10. Dark Apotheosis. Warlocks. They're a DPS class, right? Well, there was actually a time when Warlocks had some tanking capabilities. Not necessarily on the level of an actual tank spec like Prot Warriors or Blood DKs, but still, they could actually tank. When using Dark Apotheosis, Warlocks would be shrouded by a dark aura and grow demonic wings and horns, which just looked awesome. The spell would reduce all physical damage the Warlock received by 10% and reduce all magical damage the Warlock would receive by 15%. It would also change some of the Warlock's spells, such as Fear would become Asleep, Soul Shatter would also taunt the target, Twilight Ward would also absorb all schools of damage, and Shadow Bolt would turn into a melee ability called Demonic Slash. It was a really cool ability, it added an interesting dynamic to Warlocks, and is missed by many in the Warlock community. Number 9. Khadgars Unlocking. In World of Warcraft, rogues are the only class to be able to pick the locks of doors, chests and lockboxes, but it wasn't always that way. Back in Vanilla WoW's beta, mages could also pick locks, but unlike rogues who used to have to level their lockpicking skill like a profession, mages had the easy life. All they had to do was buy higher ranks of the Khadgars Unlocking ability, but to use this ability, mages would have to buy a special reagent, but unfortunately Blizzard decided to restrict lockpicking to rogues just before WoW was officially released. Number 8. Eyes of the Beast. Eyes of the Beast let hunters take full control of their pet like it was their own character. They could move the pet around, use their pet's abilities and travel the world from their pet's perspective. It was a really cool ability that I know a lot of old school hunters still really miss to this day. I remember back in Vanilla, I would summon my bear pet and use Eyes of the Beast to help tank low level dungeons, or if I was defending the base in Warsong Gulch, I would use Eyes of the Beast to scout around to see if Horde were coming to try and take our flag. To be honest, I'm not actually sure why this was removed. It was in the game from Vanilla's release until the end of Wrath. Bring back Eyes of the Beast, Blizz! Number 7. Starshards. Before Wrath of the Lich King, priests had racial abilities. You may have heard about the fact that dwarf priests were almost a necessity in some raids because their priest racial ability was Fear Ward. While the Night Elf priests had a spell called Starshards. Basically it was a channeled ability that did a tiny bit of damage. I mean, I get it, it fits with the whole Priest of Elune that, the Night Elf lore is all about, but what's so weird about it is that you could have this or something super strong like Fear Ward or the Mana Burning Feedback ability on the Alliance side. Regardless, there are a few old school Night Elf priests I know who still really miss Starshards and want it brought back. Number 6. Curse of Doom. This is essentially the precursor to the Warlock's Doom spell. Curse of Doom was a 60-second debuff that did nothing until the 60th second. That last second would deal a hell of a lot of damage. Not only that, it would have a chance to summon a Doom Guard. Now that doesn't sound too crazy or weird, but the Doom Guard wouldn't be friendly. It would actually attack the Warlock and its party unless the Warlock used the Enslave Demon ability. Back in the day, it wasn't uncommon to see a Doom Guard running around cities and towns attacking everyone for the amusement of the Warlock. Good times. Number 5. Sentry Totem. Sentry Totem was a shaman totem that was pretty much used as a selfie cam before the selfie cam got put into the game. Similar to a shaman's Farsight ability and a hunter's Eagle Eye ability, basically what the Sentry Totem did is change the shaman's view to that of the totems. As far as I'm aware, this ability didn't really have a use outside of taking cool screenshots. I remember seeing a lot of screenshots back in the day of shamans using the Sentry Totem to take awesome pictures of boss kills and cool PvP moments. Number 4. Divine Intervention. Divine Intervention was a paladin ability that was in the game from Vanilla until the end of Wrath. Basically, the paladin would commit suicide and in return make a targeted party or raid member immune to damage but unable to move for 3 minutes. What was really cool about Divine Intervention was how creatively it was used by the player base. It would cause the paladin to take no durability damage on their gear, so it was used to save shelling out on repair bills, It was also used so that person could then resurrect the group to save everyone corpse running from the graveyard, but most interestingly, to completely ignore boss mechanics. Back in Blackwing Lair, the first boss, Razorgore, would need to be mind controlled to destroy eggs around the room, while the raid protected Razorgore from mobs. What paladins would do is divine intervention on Razorgore to completely ignore the mob phase of the fight. Divine intervention was also used on other boss fights to ignore mechanics like Deathbringer Sourfang in ICC, which is probably why Blizz decided to remove the spell in the end. Number 3. Create Spellstone and create Firestone. Ah yes, yet another Warlock ability. Us Warlocks definitely have gone through a lot of changes over the years. So, Create Spellstone and Create Firestone were two completely different abilities that basically allowed the Warlock to create a stone that they would put in the offhand slot. The Spellstone would allow the Warlock to dispel themselves of all magical debuffs, as well as increasing their crit rating, and the Firestone would increase damage of fire spells. Over time, the stones moved from an offhand slot to the wand slot, but many people chose to use a wand over a stone because most of the time a wand would give better bonuses, so they finally ended up being just a consumable item before being removed. Number 2. Symbiosis. Symbiosis was a very unique ability. It was a druid spell that was introduced in Mists of Pandaria, but was unfortunately removed in WoD's pre-patch. What Symbiosis did was allow the druid to cast this on a friendly player, and in return, the friendly player and the druid would gain an ability from each other's class. Some of those abilities were a mage's ice block, a rogue's evasion, and a warlock teleport. Now, as you may know, I made a feral druid back in MoP, and I loved, and I mean loved, this ability, because not only was it really fun to play with, it was so overpowered. As I only really PvP'd back then, I would use Symbiosis on paladins so I could use a divine shield, or on a priest so I could use a dispersion. Blizzard removed this ability mainly because it was just so strong. They actually had to start designing raid encounters with this ability in mind. I get why they had to take this out of the game, but man, it was really cool and I really missed this spell. Number 1. Shadow of Death. Back in Wrath of the Lich King, the Death Knight had some very unique and interesting abilities. One of those being Shadow of Death, a self-resurrection. Now this isn't the same as a shaman self-res, this is a more Death Knight themed self-res. Instead of coming back as normal, Shadow of Death would resurrect the Death Knight as a ghoul. Yes, you would come back as a ghoul that had its own action bar and unique abilities, which was so cool. I remember the first time seeing this happen was when I was farming Nax, and I just remember thinking, damn, that's awesome. Unfortunately, this only managed to stay in the game for a few months before it was removed, but it was really fun while it lasted. So those are my top 10 weird and crazy removed abilities. Let me know what your favourite removed ability is in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more World of Warcraft content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.